Great conversation going on today. Hey, I'd like to welcome everybody to HBCU Coaches Corner. I'm your man, Rocky Miller, along with the Rattler himself, Stephen Campbell, and our featured host, none other than the SWAC legend himself, Johnnie Cole. We're going to get into a lot of conversation today. We had a lot of big things happen in HBCU football the last few days. Primarily, the big news was Jackson State winning the Celebration Bowl and everything. But before we get into all that and all this going on, Coach, how you doing, Coach Cole?
Man, I'm doing well, Coach. I'm doing well, man. The SWAC, I am SWAC, won the championship, and I'm excited. I'm excited about that. And some things happen in sports today, and it looks like that. We got a lot to talk about today.
Oh yeah, we definitely got a lot to talk about. Steve, how are you doing?
Man, listen. Football season is over. We got a new champion. Joined the Champions Club. Had a great time at the Celebration Bowl. So man, hey man, football don't stop, man. We got other sports we're gonna talk about, but we're gonna talk about this game, and we're gonna talk about, man, there's a big thing happening up there in the MEAC. So we're gonna talk about that too.
Yeah, Steve, you had an opportunity to go to the Celebration Bowl along with Coach Cole, and what I wanted to kind of, what was your feel on the game? I mean, not just the game, but the whole atmosphere and the camaraderie amongst the fans.
Well, man, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna say this again. I like the difference about real people compared to a lot of the Twitter trolls online. I mean, it was beautiful, man. It's HBCU homecoming, man. You see people from different schools representing people very nice, man. I said that in section 129, my Jack State folk, man, we had a ball. And man, listen, the game kind of played out like we said. If one team did what they said they were going to do, they were going to win. And Jackson State came out, dominated, started running the ball, controlling the ball. And then I said that. I said, Jackson State, get up. They're not going to lose. And that's exactly what they did. And they got control of that game early and often. And it just looks like South Carolina State was out of sorts. So, again, this is the flip side. Previous years we heard that, the layoff benefited the MEAC. Now this year we heard it didn't benefit the MEAC. So the bottom line, I don't put too much credence either way. I think that Jack State was the bigger, faster, and better team, and it showed.
Yeah.
And yeah. Coach Cole, you thought Jackson State was a dominant team early on, and it proved to be true that even in the championship game, they dominated South Carolina State. Yeah. A lot of people will argue that point. But when you hold a team to around 150 yards total offense and double them up, that's a pretty dominant performance, in my opinion. With that being the situation, South Carolina State had virtually no chance to win that game based on the fact that their offense was rendered ineffective, and Jackson State was able to impose their will on their defense, having a 19-play drive and I think a 14-play drive. So, again, Coach, but with all that being said, we do have a special guest, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Campbell.
Well, let me say this before we bring our special guest in. I want to take my hat off to HBCU people, HBCU colleges. We had people from all over. And Campbell, you can attest, Hampton, Howard, Texas Southern, Prairie View, Clark Atlanta, Spelman. Man, we had black folks that wasn't even on either team that came out. And guys, take our hat off to black folks, man, that we do go watch college football games. That 37 to 40,000 people they had will probably be more than 75% of the Division I-A schools, the FBS schools, in attendance. 75 of all the HBCU FBS bowl games, that game, I guarantee you, Coach, going to rank up there very, very high. And that's from a contribute of, people coming to watch a game. And it lets you know, people follow winners. And so I was real excited, man. I mean, just seeing the pageantry of seeing so many people from so many places. Again, that not just was just from Jackson State and South Carolina State, but from a whole bunch of other schools, man. I take my hat off to the administration of the Celebration Bowl. I think they ought to get it even bigger. I think they ought to invite all the coaches staff, football coaching staffs up there, man, and maybe us do an ESP, what they call it, ESP SB Awards.
You know what I mean? Do college game day?
Yeah, or SB Award, coach. Hand out the Coach of the Year award in Black.
Okay.
Most valuable player, the All-American.
Have the black.
That would be big. It could be a fundraiser. You know what I'm saying? Big sponsor. We got to think big, coach. And I really think that would be great. I don't need to see why the Black College Coaches Association don't have their meeting that weekend as well. So I'm just throwing those ideas out. But I mean, we showed up and showed out, man. It was a great crowd.
Well, Coach, let me jump on that, because what's interesting about that. So the SWAC has their Hall of Fame dinner. They moved it to Celebration Bowl weekend.
Okay.
So they're already putting that there. The SWAC, now I can't speak for the MEAC, but I know the SWAC ADs had their basically a meeting during the Celebration Bowl, because my AD was there. I was with her, talked about some things for FAMU and things like that. But what was interesting, I saw this, is that the MEAC had their awards in Vegas. So that was weird to me. So I don't know if they were doing it in partnership. And, so again, I want to be clear. I'm not being disrespectful, because it might be a reason. But to your point, it would look like if we had a total celebration, the MEAC Awards, you know what I mean, in Atlanta, and Hall of Fame. If we had the SWAC Awards, you know what I'm saying? And then, first of all, you're bringing the legends back in and things like that. So I just thought that was just awesome. And I'm going to say this again, and I posted and again, Rocky, I think I told you guys, my father was a disc jockey on WOK in DC with Charlie Neal. I had not seen Charlie Neal since I was a little boy. So I got a chance he was sitting in the same section I was. So that was just a bucket list. It was like God sent Charlie Neal so I could see him. And it was just so, and when I told him who he was, he almost cried, because he said, man, I haven't seen you since you was a baby. So, shout out to Charlie Neal and everything. So, man, it was an amazing time, man. It was an amazing time.
But and this is what I want to say, and it's a negative thing to a way. We got to work together. On that day, on that weekend, it should be the SWAC, MEAC, SIAC, CIAA, just a conglomerate of HBCUs and the opportunity, man. And I tell you, we could do it just like the other schools, the PWI schools. We do it just like that, man, and just have a hell of a week, man. I just think that we could take advantage of that if we work together. All right, Coach. You got it, Coach Campbell.
All right, man. Well, listen.
We got a new flag out. Every time we go overboard, I'm my flag.
Listen, we got a new champion that hails from the state of Mississippi, the city of Jackson, 1400 Lynch Street. And my main man, my nephew, the North Jackson Takeover. My guy, my nephew, Zoe Phillips, is going to tell us why he said, I told you so.
Hey, man. We woke up this morning to pitch excellence, man. It feels good to be a champion, dog. Yeah. But listen, I'm going to say I told you so, but before I even get into that, I want y'all to take note of my shirt that I have on, my lovely uniform. Because I don't know if y'all know this, but every day the mailman got to get up and go to work. Every day the mailman got to get up and go to work. But the only difference is the mailman's down in Mississippi. We deliver. I don't know about the mailman. They don't deliver.
Wait, real quick, can I sneak in? I got my referee shirt on tonight, because we got to talk about some real stuff, and I'm going to be throwing my flag. But go ahead. You got it, man. You got it, Coach. You called it.
Listen, I just want to say this. Last week I came on here, man. I said, all these things, and I just want to say this. Man, look, when somebody has conviction about what they think is going to happen, because I got, Steve, I can assure you, you ain't gonna get no call from nobody from South Carolina today. I can assure you this. Because last week they were calling you, right?
They were calling, they blew me up.
Everything I was saying was blasphemy. Oh, we scored this many points. We're gonna do this. I said, man, I want to say so bad. Look, I don't care what they tell you. My score, go back and run it. I said 31. I said 31-17. I said, look, nobody is finna put points on us. I said that. Oh, man, they always do this. They put them in the point. I was like, man, I don't care. They have not faced a defense like what they're going to face this weekend. I said that. Man, and to say we dominated them, man, it don't even put it mildly. They didn't even belong on the field with us. And we should have given up their 7 points. I was pissed about it. I was pissed about this. It should have been a donut. But they really got.
So let me, because I want to speak to the domination, because originally I had some pushback to it, right? Because Jackson State got 150 yards rushing, but they had to run the ball 51 times in order to do that. In my mind, that's not necessarily domination. And you know, Jacoby Morgan's stats were good. You know, he was 15 or 21 for 200 some odd yards. Though they were good, they weren't otherworldly, right? But in the context of what South Carolina was able to do, right? That's how you got to put it in context. What were they able to do in this game? And offensively, they weren't able to do much. So, again, though your offensive stats weren't otherworldly or it didn't denote domination, in my opinion, how you guys held down the South Carolina explosive offense, that surely was a dominating performance by the defense.
Well, see, here's where I beg to differ on the rushing attempts to the yardage and how it equates to domination. Because we dominated in every statistical category. So let me tell you how the yardage matter, right? Because, see, everybody want to focus on where Herb Mulligan and go off. Herb Mulligan is just one key in the running back room. The running back, we still ran for that many yardage. The game plan was to run for that many attempts. Because guess what it does? You know what that – so people look at the attempts to the yardage and see what the average is, and that equates to domination. But you left out a very missing important part to that. You know what it is? TOP. Because you dominated time possession.
Time of possession.
So it ain't just attempts and yards and average. See, when you're rushing the ball for 51 times, that equates to time of possession. That's domination. And watch this. To prove my point even more home, to bring it home even more, when you talk about the main thing over everything that showed its hand in this game was the second drive in the second quarter. We had the ball for 19 plays, just under 10 minutes. Guess what the time of possession was in this game? The difference was 19 minutes. 19 minutes. So you go to that second drive of the first quarter, we had the ball for just under 10 minutes on that drive, get a touchdown, they get the ball back, they run about 6 plays, punt it back to us, and then we go on a 14-play drive, just under 7 minutes. That's why it's domination. Yeah. Because that speaks to line of scrimmage domination, time of possession, and wearing their damn defense out.
And I think the pass selection of the quarterback was wonderful. When you're going 15 for 21, that's almost 70% of completion, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
And that's where you want to be. And we knew going into the game, we knew Jackson State couldn't put the game in the quarterback's hand, you know. But they did. What they did was they dominated defensively and offensively. But an offense is great when it has time of possession for over 19 minutes, because my defense is doing what? They rested.
Exactly. And it's a double-edged sword. So not only
what's a part of domination that people don't normally, you know, we go by numbers, but the numbers that you go by are different than 200 yards rushing and 400 yards passing.
Exactly. So, but I also say this to the other point, Rocky, is you got the rushing yards, you got the yardage, right? Because again, everybody looks at Herb Mulligan. We never said, yeah, Herb Mulligan's a great player. But if you always listen to us, we've always said what? We got the best running backfield in the conference, and we do. And so again, it was Cam coming, not Cam, Amari coming in, Amari Matthews coming in.
Yeah,
held it down when Herb was getting the blow. You know what I'm saying? Then Desmond come in. Desmond didn't get a whole bunch of carry, but Desmond was damn great in pass pro when he got in there. So it was collective effort, and we still got the thing is not the attempts, it's the yardage, because the thing is it added to the TOP. Because what it also showed is what was the only thing everybody talked about South Carolina. The only thing they talked about was what? Their offense. Yeah. Their offense. That's all they talked about. Oh, they averaged this many points. Well, if we got 51 attempts, That's telling me your offense on the side of the field. And then when they on the field, they ain't producing. So we were dominant. It speaks to even more of a different type of variety of domination. Because last time I checked, starting the third quarter, we had more penalty yards than they had total yards.
Hey, and Rocky, baby, I thought maybe you would love 51 carries.
No.
I thought you'd be like
no. So let me speak to what at a glance. Like, here's what I'm saying. There were several plays in the game that I thought if South Carolina could have stepped up, and it could change the complexion of the game. So the game was very competitive. That's what when you denote domination, it almost seems like you're saying that the game wasn't competitive. But I thought from a physicality standpoint, I thought the game was competitive. I just thought all the third downs were converted by Jackson State. Other than the 4th and 1, all the short yardage plays were converted by Jackson State. All the key moments in the game where you had to have it, Jackson State had it, South Carolina did. You know what I mean? Like, those are the kind of things that makes that the game didn't look like a 40-0 domination.
I beg to differ. I'm gonna give you a good analogy. I'm gonna give you a real good visual. It was 0-0 in the first quarter, right? To your point. But in that first quarter, we was like Floyd Mayweather. We didn't have a blemish on us. We body blowed the shit out of them in that first quarter. We just didn't get up with no uppercut or no left hook. But we jabbed the shit out of them in the gut. So they was hurt. They was hurt. We just didn't knock them down yet. But then second quarter came, we started left hooking that ass because them touchdowns started coming. But when Swag T.O. got that last touchdown, it was a smoking Joe level. It was a knockout blow at that point in time. So it was like a heavyweight fight. We jabbed the shit out of them in that first quarter. We didn't knock them down, but we didn't have a blemish on us.
Let me ask you this, though. Let me just ask you this, because you're not Nostradamus. You're not. What surprised you about the game? Something had to surprise you about the game.
The only thing that surprised me, truthfully, was the fact that we didn't allow as many passing yards as we did. I expect to dominate them in the run game like we did because we done it all year. Our resume said we do it, and we did it this game. I'm not surprised with what we did. And South Carolina State, they aren't good running the ball. So the only thing that surprised me was being able to maintain the receivers the way that we did. But I'm going to tell you this, and I mentioned this earlier. The reason why I can sit here and I can talk crap now, but the reason why I was so confident, because I really want to say this. People in HBCU space, we got to learn how to pick and choose what we want to hold on to from the previous year. I'm going to tell you what I mean. So when it came to this game, everybody only want to go back to the Celebration Bowl when we lost to South Carolina State, right? But then just like everybody want to hang on to the fact that last year we lost to Alabama State and we lost to Alcorn, we want to give that way more credence. But we forget about the game we had at the first game of the season last year. We don't want to talk about that, though. We don't want to talk to. We played South Carolina State last year, and we beat their ass 33-7. Now, the reason why I mention that is I know people gonna say we're a whole different team. Yeah, you're the same team, but you could be a different team, but you got the same ingredients. What I mean by that is when Coach Berry came in, you brought in some players from Benedict, but you didn't bring in a whole bunch. Go look at both lines. Go look at the roster. Go look at both lines. Those same guys were there last season. Go ask them what we did to the O-line and D-line last year. We dominated them.
Yeah.
So what makes this game gonna be any different? And we're even more better, I think, at the D tackle position this year than we were last year. So I knew they weren't gonna run. So to answer your question, I was just more surprised at the way that we held them on the passing yards. But I didn't expect for him to throw for 300 yards. I know a lot of other people may have felt that, but I looked at their resume too. They didn't face a whole bunch of damn good defenses. They didn't. Yeah. So this whole thing about they're gonna put 35 points, I was like, oh, who? I had no doubt that they were gonna put that many points on us.
Now I don't know who on this show said they was even gonna score 20. I don't think nobody even said that.
No, I said because mine was 31-14.
Oh, let me make a correction. MEAC's athletic directors were at the Celebration Bowl. They just, make sure I put that in there. But I didn't think nobody on this show even thought they would score that. I knew we would score. Jackson State would get where they supposed to be at. But I think that they had the game under control the whole game. If at any one time in that game when it was 14-0, it was 14-0 for 3 quarters. Well, 2.5 quarters.
4.5.
Yeah. If they would have scored and went 14-7, then I would have been like, oh, whoa. And I think both teams came out and played hard. I think the difference is, and I'm gonna put my hand up, I was wrong about TC Taylor, was the game plan. I think TC Taylor them stayed with their game plan. We're gonna run the ball, we're gonna give it to our stallion, and we're gonna let Jacoby Morgan be the quarterback that we want him to be. Don't make no mistakes. The game ain't in your hand. The game is in Coach TC Taylor's hand. I thought Chennis Berry either got away from running the football because he went to no back early. And maybe like you said, Zoe, he went back and seen from last year that you know they went that how good you guys was up front. And he came out of that, and I didn't like the no back stuff that he was doing early in that game. I think he took his game plan and balled it up and started calling from the hip.
And one thing before you go, Rock, I want to mention this too, because one thing I don't tend to forget. I don't forget the tenor, right? When it comes to the conversation before the first game, because remember, we had just had the SWAC championship game. Jacoby didn't look all that hot. Remember, who's Coach TC gonna play? Is he gonna play Zai or is he going with Jacoby? Because Jacoby really ain't all that hot. I think if he played with Jacoby in, you know what I'm saying, he might see him lose. And who was the best quarterback he need to go with? I said, oh man, we're gonna roll with Jacoby in. I was like, but Zai gonna be ready to play, and Cam too if we need him. But we're gonna win with Jacoby. And everybody was like, you really sure? I'm like, do a pass and know his word? Of
you remember that y'all asked me that question on Scotty's show, didn't y'all, Rocky? And what I said, who got you here? You guys
hold on, Zoe. Yeah, Coach, pull your flag out. Cause Zoe, wait a minute. Cause see, now listen, I'm gonna let you go mass meeting tonight. North Jackson takeover. But what you're not gonna do is get the congregation all mad at us. I know.
No. I'm not saying it was y'all. I'm not saying it was y'all.
Yeah. Let's clear that up.
That's right.
Because I clearly said there's no way that they are not going to start Jacoby Morgan. That's the guy who's going to play. And Coach said the same thing. Now, Rocky, I'm gonna let you clear.
No. My point.
Yeah.
My point.
I know. I said ain't no way he goes to
I'm not saying that it was y'all. I'm saying, but that was the tenor and the energy before the game. Not necessarily y'all. I'm saying, but that's what the conversation was. That was the conversation going before the game. But and here's the thing, and I'll be quiet so you can go, Rocky. But go back and watch that game Saturday. Jacoby looked like what we call him, the general. 100%. He led that team, played flawlessly.
I watched the game twice. I came back and watched it.
Yeah, I watched it last night. It was on ESPN last night too.
I did too.
So let me. It was late last night too. But let me say this though. To that point. Now, what I said was Jackson State got 3 quarterbacks they can win with. That's what I said. Because I didn't think it really. Jackson State formula for winning didn't involve the quarterback playing otherworldly. You understand what I'm saying? And I think Jacoby Morgan. Now, what I will say is Jacoby Morgan played a game that he was totally within himself in every snap that he took. He never got out of himself. He never was hurried up or rushed. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So he played extremely well. But again, this game plan that Coach TC Taylor put together was the game plan I wanting them to run all year. But for whatever reason, he in earlier games, even in the SWAC championship, he experimented with the passing game a little more than I would have liked him to. But I guess that's what he was doing early in the season, was experimenting with the passing game. So in these crucial moments, Jacoby would be comfortable passing the ball on 3rd and 4, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. And I think he threw strikes each and every time he was given that opportunity to on 3rd down. Go ahead.
That's only one part to that though. But there's a reason for that, because you got to remember, we're down 5 receivers. So that gives credence to why we minimize the many passing attempts. So let me just tell you guys, like when it comes to our offense, we actually shoot for balance. You know, we have the type of team and roster that we want to throw for 250 and run for 250. We want that kind of balance, or close to that as possible. Throw for 200, run for 200. We have the roster for that. But we're down 5 receivers and a starting tight end. So you're going to minimize and constrict your playbook into some of the things that you want to do because you're down so many players. Even the running backs, because we're down J.D. Martin, Ahmad Miller. We were down 3 running backs. You see what I'm saying? So it's restricted a whole lot. Not that we're the only one immune to it. I'm quite sure South Carolina State missing some guys too. But I'm saying to that point about passing, we passed a lot more early in the season because we had starters that we, in a plan of how we want that to look like. But what you see is a byproduct of attrition throughout the season. You're not going to see a quarterback throwing 40 times a game when you're down to your 5th receiver. That's just not going to happen. So you're going to restrict it. But and we played to our strength for what we got on the roster. That's what it was. But Jacoby, and that's why, again, you're due a bad game. Jacoby, Jacoby didn't have his best game against Southern. But again, that speaks to the talent and recruiting. You put Zion, we go and we do our thing. And it's like, because he didn't play great, that means we're going to forecast and say that he's not going to play great the next game.
Let me stop you right there, young fella. Look, you guys put Jacoby in a bad situation that Southern game. You came out, you start throwing it more than that because you came back talk now and you said, y'all got a balanced attack. You had me there. But when you say the kid had a bad game, I didn't think he had a bad game. I thought y'all was making him do too much. Like put the game on him because y'all struggled a little bit running the ball at first. But then, that wasn't his thing. You know what I'm saying? Like you say, he's a general. And I think you guys was putting him, making him throw the ball. I think Rocky spoke about that a lot last week. So I just thought maybe y'all put him in a bad situation.
And I'll say this, though, and you can go back and look at the play chart. They restricted him to passing the ball on 3rd down this game, whereas in the Southern game, they were attempting to pass on 1st and 2nd down.
Well,
you know what I mean?
The thing, too, is that, but see, Southern's a different defense as opposed to South Carolina State. They saw on film of how they want to exploit that. But here's the thing. Now, I'm in the minority up here because I still think we win the game even if we don't pull Jacoby in last week. But that's just me.
Oh,
yeah. I think so, too. No, you ain't in the minority.
I think you win.
Ain't nobody thought Southern was going to beat y'all.
Not even close.
Hold on. I said I might be in the minority. I can't speak for y'all.
Let's get that straight, Coach. We
don't do alternative facts on this. Listen, I know, Zoe, hold on. Let me say something. Now, Zoe, I know you're doing your media on every show. Like I say, you the superstar on every show. But when you come over here, we don't do alternate facts. It's the old folks show over here, bro. This ain't the young folks show. You can't run that game on the old folks over here, bro. We got receipts over here.
I ain't young. I get that good insurance mail too now.
Okay. No, you younger than us. I'll tell you that. Now, hold on, you younger than us.
So
you ain't got no ARP. We got ARP cards over here.
That's what I just said. I got that good insurance mail.
Hey, unless they were gonna bring back a quarterback from the past from Southern, they wasn't beating y'all, and they would have had to bring out one of them LSU transfers they got back in the day. Hey, they would have had to get one of them guys if they had a chance to win.
Hey, but they had pig feet, ducktails, leprechauns, massage, sand, dust, smoke. Hey, none of that was gonna help.
And so at the end of the day, y'all ran for 300 and some yards that game. Ain't no way they were going. Jacobian again. We said it. I think Coach said it exactly right. Y'all had him in a situation earlier game where he was doing way more than he was supposed to do. And I think the defensive line matchup against y'all offensive line in that situation was not as advantageous as y'all running the ball.
And sometimes
because that quick pressure was bothering Jacoby. That's what I thought.
Sometimes that when you do play a team, and I know you guys walked in confident, Coach, that y'all were going to beat Southern University. They wasn't even averaging 19 points a game, Coach. Mm-hmm. And you know what I'm saying? And y'all knew, you had to know, and maybe that might have happened too. Sometimes you come in overconfident, let me work on some stuff, and that kind of thing. And maybe that might have made the play calling a little different. You guys was on damn point last Saturday at 12 p.m.
Oh, for sure. Because again, like and TC spoke on it. You know what I'm saying? We got tired of hearing about them. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like no matter where you went to, it was like people want to, especially South Carolina State fan. And I'm like, look, there's an old saying. Steve may have heard it. He from Jacktown. There's an old saying we say, I might be from Mississippi, but today I'm gonna be from Missouri. You got to show me. You got to show me. And so at the end of the day, they were going to have to show me all the talk that they were talking. I don't believe it. I believe it. They want to prove it to me. You beat me. I'm gonna come to the middle of the field, shake your hand, say you got me.
Coach, let me ask you this here, because this is what is keep ringing in my head, Coach. I want to ask you this, and so you guys can answer this. Was this a South Carolina State team that had a bad day, or was the MEAC just bad this year?
Let me go, Zoe.
See, they had a bad day.
Yeah. See, but let's be honest. If you watch this game, and again, especially, and Coach, you know this, when you're sitting in a stadium, the TV doesn't give you a good perception of how much bigger people are. And when you sit down and look, and so because I'm gonna get to a point, and I looked at Jackson State's offensive line, and I saw them little DNs for South Carolina State. I said, boy, this about to be a long mofo day. Because Jackson State was that much bigger on the offensive defensive line. And so I want to run on something because I remember you guys way back on, when the season first started. I think I came on with you guys because we were talking about the season. And you talked to me about, hey, Steve, we recruited all these offensive linemen. And I know that your main offensive tackle got hurt. Talk about the depth of that offensive line and how you guys were able to put a freshman in and y'all still didn't miss a beat. So I want you to talk about that matchup on the offensive line versus those defensive ends and kind of talk and give people the names of those guys that was on that offensive line that was kind of dominating.
I mean, when you talk about, Barton Mason, out of Memphis, and all of these, and every last one of these guys, every last freshman on lineman, they're all 3-star and they're all out of high school. Every last one of them. And so, again, and that's one of the things that we mentioned on earlier this season when we talked about it. And that's why I would make the comment. I'll say, listen, I know coming from me, you'll say, oh, I'm JSU, so I'm being biased, but I'm a recruiting guy. So I always try to give context to it. I'm like, listen, you can sit here and say about, oh, everybody's recruiting at a better clip, but we've had a top 3 class in the country for the past 4 years. I need people to understand it.
How many freshmen y'all had on O-line, Coach?
Huh? We played 4 this year, all high schoolers, and they've all played this season.
But they weren't the starters.
No, they weren't the starters.
Okay.
And so what happened was Kurt Ford went out, put a true freshman out there.
All conference play. Now let's be clear. All conference Kurt Ford.
All conference Kurt Ford go out the game.
From Texas, Kurt Ford.
Yeah, he's from Texas. You sit there and you put a freshman out there and you just sit there and lock his side of the field down. Lock it down. Lock it down.
Because, Coach, you remember that was one of the things that we kind of highlighted because that was the question. We were looking at those all-conference MEAC defensive ends going against Ford, and that was part of the thing that we talked about. We also talked about Smith coming in. So that was the thing that I'm sitting up there because, again, this is the stuff that we broke down. We wasn't just saying this, that, and all the other. We were talking about player versus player. So when I'm sitting up there, I've got my chart out, looking at names, saying, okay, let me see what this guy's going to do. And when I just saw those start laying on those guys, and then on the flip side, those defensive tackles, when they start belly dancing and everything like this, hey, man, it was trouble. It was trouble, bro. It was trouble. So now, man, you saw just the size. And again, it was the same thing with FAMU when we played last year. We were just that much bigger than Howard. You know what I mean? And you could just see it. So again, I think what I like compared to, and Coach, you can kind of talk about this too. When Alcorn played, North Carolina A&T had them big offensive linemen. They had guys that were going pro. You just saw that size. But now I see the SWAC saying, you know what? Let's get Jackson State especially. Let's get the big guys that can maul you and wear you down. And that's what really that was the game, man. That was the game.
And also early in the season, we spoke to this. We actually went back to last season again because we try to highlight for everybody. Class of 2024. Well, it was actually starting in 2023, but we specifically said class of 2024, class of 2025. Mississippi is super, super deep in those particular senior classes. And so even when we touched on it, was like, hey, we brought these freshmen in. They all played. And you got 2 that redshirted that didn't play. And so it breeds to what we're going to do next season. I mentioned to you, Rocky, about we're down 5 receivers. We lost our 2 starters early in the season after the second game. Lost the starting tight end. And attrition happens to every team. But what it speaks to, the reason why I always bring it up, because it speaks to recruiting. Everybody says next man up. That's a popular quote, but we don't just have depth. We have quality depth. I mean, when you talk about have the recruiting classes that we have, it speaks to it because again, every coach, and coaches down there looking like he just got off from Foot Locker. Everybody knows he's going to put a freshman in the game in a championship game.
Well, Zoe,
just not going to do that.
Let's be honest. If you have freshmen that have been, you got to understand, Zoe, this is really a championship game is really their sophomore year if they're freshmen. Because they've played enough games. Normal season was 10, 11 games. What y'all play? 14 games?
12. Regular season.
No, I'm talking about in previous years. It was 11.
Normal regular season is 11 games.
11 games. And you guys played 14.
Mm-hmm.
So these freshmen had some experience, got a lot of experience during the season. And so when you go out for a championship game, they're freshmen in class, but in experience, you know, they have experience as a young sophomore. And
for sure.
And again, let me ask you this here, because I want to, this is a prime question, so get ready. How much does the profile that was built when Prime was recruiting, that are y'all sticking with now that TC's the head man? You understand? I hope you understand the question. Like
Rocky, I look, I can tell you this insider. 0.
Okay.
0.
Okay.
Let me explain to you why. And I know to the mass they'll say all BS. 0. You have to understand who's the coach. TC Taylor. I don't think people understand what TC Taylor is when I say that name. He's not just a former player at Jackson State. TC Taylor comes from the very tentacles of being under the W.C. Gordon tree. And for anybody who's a Jacksonian, you know what that means. Not only that, but then you have Otis Ridley, his right-hand man, who's the general manager, was also the assistant head coach, you know what I'm saying, last year. They're a tandem. They are a tandem. And so when it comes, I just told you how deep the recruiting class are. You got a lot of former Jackson State players out in the high school ranks in the state of Mississippi right now. Go look at what we just did last week on the recruiting trail. It got Jackson State written all over.
I don't think you understand my question.
I'm making a point.
Answer that question again, Rocky. Ask
so what I'm saying is the type of player that you profile as a Jackson State player, are you sticking to that profile of a player under TC Taylor?
No. That's what I'm saying. It's a whole different dynamic under TC Taylor from what it was under Coach Prime.
So y'all are looking for a different player.
Yes,
okay.
Totally.
Got
What you saw on display in Atlanta, Georgia on Saturday, that's W.C. Gordon, James Big Daddy Carson. Am I lying, Steve?
No, you're right.
So
I want to ask you a question because we got a hard out at the top of the hour, and I want to give some historical context. How many players? Because this would have been Shadur's senior year. How many of those players are still that are freshmen? Because you understand, those guys that are freshmen are 3-time SWAC champions that are seniors. So how many of those guys that came in, and I'm just curious, that stayed with the program and are still, do you know, like, right? Because I think Petty would be one. I think because he's from
Deion Sanders.
Yeah, well, because they would have been this would have been their senior year.
They came in as freshmen.
No,
yeah.
I will say it might be 9.
So Jency, I know Petty probably.
This is not.
Jency came in. He came in with Shadur. Shadur.
It was Jency, Petty.
Let me entwine. What
it was about 9 players.
Is are y'all looking for the damn Heisman Trophy winner? You know what I mean? Are y'all recruiting those? Y'all recruit top players in the country. You know what I mean? That's pretty much. I thought, is that what you?
Yeah.
We getting those 3 stars, but we going after them 5 too.
But here's the difference. We're not really going after those out of the state of Mississippi. That's what I'm trying to highlight to you. We're not. I know you may say, well,
that's what Rocky, I think, is saying. And you guys are saying we're focused on the state of Mississippi.
Yes, I'm saying we aren't recruiting that high. We aren't really going after that much of a high-profile kid out of state. The only way we really, really do is if we have some form of an inroad out of state. But outside of that, whatever it is in the state of Mississippi, we don't give a damn what ranking this guy. We're going after that. And again, that has no bearing with Deion Sanders. They're going a whole total different frame because of the relationship they have and the tie-ins that they have throughout the state of Mississippi.
Wait. That's good. Because let me finish my point. Because I was trying to lead it. You almost led into it about the recruiting. Because if you just tell a kid from Mississippi, hey man, 3 or 4 years we've been in Atlanta. We're SWAC champions. You come here, you playing for championships. And I remember, in the end, this kind of goes back. I remember that was the calling card for a lot of guys in Jackson Metro that didn't go to Mississippi State, that didn't go to USM, didn't go to Ole Miss. They were like, man, Jackson State winning championships. So I'm going to end up going to Jackson. And man, they used to kill down there in South Mississippi. So that's the reason why I was asking, is that the thing that now you guys are using in the recruiting that again, to your point about what Coach Carson, what W, you say, hey man, listen, you come here, we winning championships. You ain't got to go to Ole Miss. You ain't got to go to Mississippi State. We're playing big games, and you can see it online. That's what I was trying to get to.
But this is what I want to say, Steven, to Zoe, and this is kind of, just because they from Mississippi don't make them work the quarter. You understand? There was a standard, the kind of guys that y'all rolled out against Deion, when y'all had Deion, they were guys that could generally play anywhere, not just at the HBCU FCS level. So I was saying, well, y'all still sticking with that kind of profile as player to recruit. Not an FCS guy, a guy that can play anywhere.
Well, the thing is, and I'm telling you, we're going after small town Mississippi kids who a lot of people may think really can't go. They may look and say, oh, that's a group of 5 FBS player. And TC and OC tell you, nah, bullshit, that dude could actually play on the FBS on a Power 4 conference. Y'all just overlook it because you're from Mississippi. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what Coach Gordon did.
So y'all taking chances. Y'all taking chances.
No, we're not taking chances. Mississippi is different, kind of like Louisiana in a sense. Let me give you an example. In Louisiana, a lot of your high-profile guys in Louisiana come from small 1A, 2A schools. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people may look at those 1A kids and be like, oh, he got 3 stars, but when I look at him, oh, I don't see him playing on the Power 4. He probably at best is this. But the problem is now you get his ass on campus and you sit there and develop him a little bit more. You say, oh, hell no, this dude here should be playing the damn Notre Dame so damn well. That's how Jack State got good. That's what they're doing.
Can I throw the flag for 1 second, man? And I know you're going to love this, Zoe. That TC Taylor put Deion Sanders' stuff to bed.
Oh, for sure.
About HBCU, TC Taylor did a great job. He got to the big dance. He showed up and showed out, man, in front of a capacity crowd. And you know, man, it made me SWAC proud. You know what I'm saying? Not against Deion, but the way you guys played the game, it was flawless. I thought you guys were ready. I thought the game plan was ready. I thought you stepped in. Even when you ran into tough situations, y'all still came out and handed that ball off and got everybody in there to play. So I was real proud of that, man. And look like y'all back to the Jackson State 80s. Because somebody, Zoe, you know, like about 6 weeks ago, Zoe, I said, man, ain't nobody beating Jackson State. They dominate. And then somebody gonna say, man, you mean to tell me they better than the 86 team?
Hey,
Hello.
now, whoa.
Hello.
Wait.
Hello.
No, I'm gonna do you.
Hey, so we're gonna start.
Let me ask that.
I said, I ain't talking about 86. They are dominating now.
They got 10 draft picks. 10 draft picks, number 2 picks, number 1 picks. Now, I ain't no look, these boys, listen, bro, that's a whole other level on there. You gotta understand something. Them boys had 29 draft picks in 4 years.
And Steve, he still had the year on 87 that year.
No, I'm talking about what he said.
It's the 87. It's the 86 team, 87 draft.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Come on, man. And the 87, man, come on, man. No, Joe's right. But no, I'm talking about him. But Joe, I'm talking about that whole frame.
Yeah.
No. So no, sir. And this even go back to the prime when people talking about prime was doing. No,
damn prime. TC Taylor.
No, but no. You're not them. Listen, bro. No, you just. Look, man,
right now.
Actually, have listen. No. Listen, no. You got the people in context. The point was, and it really started because I know what I said What I said was because it really started from what they said Deion was doing. And what I said, and I still stand on this, and this goes for FAMU anybody. Between 85 to 90, Jackson State damn near had 40 guys drafted in the NFL. That is unheard of. That's never going to happen again.
It's true.
What?
Rounders, second rounders, stop it.
It's true.
TC Taylor, just let him sit in there, give him a chance, give him a shot. But they dominated. This is a new era. They dominated the conference, coach. They dominated black college football.
So let me ask you this: could this team compete with Alcorn, Grambling 2016, Alcorn 17 and 18?
They beat Alcorn easy.
That'd be Alcorn easy. Alcorn control the ball.
That Grambling team had Kincaid and them boys, and they had NFL guys. Now that would be a war.
I'm gonna say this: that Grambling game. That's gonna be a game I would love to see. Kincaid was hell.
Yeah.
But them Alcorn
team had NFL guys on that team. Yeah, they had Grambling had NFL guys on that team. So now they would beat Alcorn. Now Alcorn was a champion, but they weren't a dominant champion. They weren't.
I'm talking about today.
No, we got it, coach. But no, but
okay.
I'm not.
All right. Just say that. Just give me my little.
I can't. No, because we can't. No, listen. No, you pull out the flag, but I want to make sure the context is correct. So Jackson State, I'm going to say this for the record.
You know the crazy thing about it? Hell, I was playing back then.
Exactly. So you know.
Yeah, I played against Burkett and Jackie Walker and Victor Hall and all those cats. They all went to pro.
Ernest Pate.
Yeah.
On,
so man. We had several on my team went to pros. They was coming out of the squad.
It ain't even. We got that era is going to be the golden era forever. That's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. We can't compare that era. And this ain't.
And also, coach, I gotta say this too. During that time frame that Steve was talking, Jack State didn't lose a conference game for 4.5 years.
Coach, I'm telling you, I played fucking 5 years in them, and then coached the other 5. That whole era, I was watching them.
So Zoe. You do realize y'all have lost 2 constant conference games in 4 years, right?
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. But hold on. You say 2 and 4 years. I say 0 and 4.5.
Well,
no. I'm just saying. No. Who's to say what you guys will do next year? But I'm just saying.
Well, I mean,
you guys went from.
That's. But I'm saying I feel you, but that's to be determined. We look the 87 team we talking about. They can't add to their resume no more. We still saying 0 and 4.5.
Yeah. So last ones though, and because I want to get this, because you're a recruiting guy. And I'm a Texas guy, so I know what status Prairie View has in Texas, right? I know what status TSU has in Texas. And there are probably 10 FBS schools and probably about 4 FCS schools before you get to Prairie View and TSU on the pecking order, right? What does Mississippi set in the pecking order in Mississippi as far as from a recruit's standpoint? Not from the HBCU standpoint. I'm talking about from a recruit's standpoint.
What does Mississippi say for the recruits?
Yeah.
I mean, Mississippi says high.
Are y'all bet like old times? Do y'all get now?
Are y'all on par with Mississippi Valley? Or are y'all on par with Southern Miss? Or are y'all on par with State?
I can answer that easily. Right now, I would say we are on par with Southern Miss. We always have been. We always been on par with Southern Miss. We battle them for players, and we always have. When they're struggling, we tend to get recruits they go after, and if we're struggling, they end up getting the recruits that we're after. But there's an anomaly which you probably can understand because you're from Texas that we wrestle with, and that's called JUCOs. We have by far and away the best JUCO system in the country, and so we wrestle with that. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no flag on the play, coach. Ain't no flag on the play. You put that flag down.
Coach, Kansas got some great JUCOs, and California got 75 of them, coach. I've recruited all of them, coach. So I'm talking from experience now. I've recruited every junior college in California. I worked in Kansas. I recruited every college in Texas as well as Mississippi.
Coach, I don't care. Look, I don't care if you're scared of a tornado in Kansas or you like the avocados in California. When they come to get them championships in JUCOs, Mississippi run laps around. That's facts. That's facts. But but the thing is, we wrestle with that. But when you, and then also too, when you look at the state of Mississippi from a recruit standpoint, Mississippi is a I used to live in Atlanta. I used to make this comparison all the time, right? Mississippi, land-wise, is just a smidgen smaller than Georgia, right? But then the city of Atlanta has more people than the whole entire state of Mississippi. Then you add to that, we got way too many schools. Way too many schools. Mississippi shouldn't have the amount of schools that it has. Because when I make this comment that I'm about to make, and Steve knows it to be true, when it comes to football in the state of Mississippi, Jackson State is the preeminent program in the state of Mississippi. When it comes to tradition, history, and lore of football in the state of Mississippi, it's Jackson State than it's everybody else. I know people may say, "Oh yeah," but I say, go look at the stats. Mississippi State never won a championship, never won an SEC championship. Ole Miss has won like 3 back in the 50s. They got 1 national championship. So the Miss has had some success in their conferences, and so has Delta State. It's Jackson State and everybody else. Now, Mississippi State don't get the players, you know what I'm saying, that they get because they're SEC and they're charter members. We understand our place in the lexicon of that. But lo and behold, when it comes to football history and prestige and everything else, Jackson State is an anomaly. And I'm not being biased or blue and white fan when I say that. That's just fact. So again, where Jackson State sits when we talk about recruiting, that's why I spoke to you about TC and Otis. Those relationships and those inroads, and Mississippi is ruled by nature. Jackson, even though it's the capital, it's a small town. Jackson's the size of Marietta. It's a small town. Jackson State can go anywhere in the state and get some damn good players. Always have.
I agree with you, but on the recruiting chart, Mississippi is way down there, Coach. I get you. And I'm going to look, I get you. But you ain't going to see a whole bunch of Mississippi State on some national championship teams. You're not going to see a whole bunch of players on these national. Now, you know, I give New Orleans, Louisiana, you know, a small city because, you know, they've been making some inroads. Not saying, this is never saying that they're not no players. I ain't saying that. But when you talk about the blue bread recruiting areas, Mississippi is never mentioned.
I tell you what, Coach.
Never mentioned.
I tell you what.
Because you just talking about HBCU. I'm talking about national stage.
I tell you what. And Steve gonna film on this. You take the best of any state that you want. Any state you want. Take the best.
Y'all have Jerry Rice and Walter Payton. Nobody.
Oh, that ain't all we got. That ain't all we got. You take the best of any state that you want and put them up against mine, and I go to war with them.
In what position, though?
Hold on. I don't want to get too far in the weeds on this, but I'm going to give you some. No, hold on, because that's too deep in the weeds on that. What you about to do, right? What I will tell you this, and what Zoe is getting to, per capita, and you can go look it up. Per capita, Mississippi has produced the most NFL players over the course of the years per capita. So
I thought Louisiana was that.
No, I'm trying to tell you.
Right now. That's right now.
That's what I'm saying. Right overall, that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying to Zoe's point, but also and I want to get to what Coach was getting to. The thing that Mississippi has had an advantage in Jackson State. When you're Rocky, you're in Texas. Listen to what you just said. Prairie View, Texas are down there, right? When you got Florida, FAMU all the way down here. It's only Mississippi State and Miss, and people in Mississippi don't even root for them. So that's the difference. When you in Texas, Rocky, you got your friends. They're Texas fans, Texas A&M fans, this fan, all that. Man, I went to Florida. I had so many people that were Florida Gator fans and doing all this, and Miami fans. And let me say this real quick, so I get on this one tangent. Don't tell me who to root for when you Negroes are saying Roll Tide, root for Ohio State, root for Michigan. So I can root for Jack State, I can root for Grambling, I can root for FAMU. So don't tell me who I can root for when y'all out here root for these white folks. So I just want to put that out there. So rocking to that point, what Zoe is saying, that's why Jack State has always been interesting, because to his point is that they were able to go in there because of the racism, the history of not being great teams. See, you don't have that. So that's kind of what he's talking about.
So like I remember years ago, probably not that long ago, that I'm trying to think of who it was, but I want to say it was either LSU or Alabama, and they had like 5 guys on the defensive line, all of them from Mississippi. You know what I mean? Like they had, like in Ole Miss and Mississippi State were really down during that time. I think it was Alabama when I really think about it. But anyway, they had some guys, and I was just wondering where did Jackson State in that pecking order of recruiting would it go? Jackson State would be above some of the out of state options, or would they be right there behind?
Well, depending. Well, I've seen it come and go. So right now, in the state of Mississippi, Jackson State can pretty much be in play to get whatever they want in the state of Mississippi. I can't speak for out of state, but in the state of Mississippi, Jackson can get what they want.
Let me
hold on. And when now Cumberland came, and Cumberland mostly recruited out of state and recruited JUCO. Now, when Judge was the coach, and I'm going back a little bit now, but when Judge was the coach, when Big Daddy was the coach, when WC was the coach, it was all Mississippi. They rarely ever went out of state. And when they did, it was Alabama or Louisiana, and that was it.
Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis,
a little bit, but mostly it was Mississippi. So trust me when I tell you, they was getting it then. Trust me when I tell you. I tell you what, from a recruiting standpoint, right now, you look at every HBCU on signing day just last week. Every HBCU. Jackson State signed 11 kids, all high school, all 3-star, 11 kids, and they're probably gonna have about 7 kids to enroll next month. So I talked about that too. That's an anomaly because FCS programs don't do that. Go look and see how many North Dakota signed last week. Go look, and they're the flagship school of their state.
I mean, they don't have any football players in their state, bro.
I'm not saying for the state of South Dakota. I'm saying that's a national known program. They play for championships, and they still didn't sign that many players on signing day.
Because Coach, they just like you guys. They get those big kids out of North Carolina, South Dakota, and then they get a kid from Florida. They'll get a kid from Mississippi. They'll get a tailback. They'll get those type of skilled kids to go up there. They really, Coach, are like what you guys do. And Jackson State, I know has been recruiting out of Mississippi because they battle against Ole Miss as well as Mississippi State. And it's been that way. It's been that way for years until they let those coaches outside y'all's system come in there and screw it up. Would you agree with that?
So to your point, Rocky, if you go, like you mentioned the freshman old lineman, I implore you to go look at Kassan Burke, to look at his offers when he signed with Jackson State out of Ridgeland High School. I want you to go look at Mason Barton when he signed with Jackson State out of high school last year. Go look at the offers that he had. The 6'5", the receiver that we got out of Florida, he was a 3-star receiver. Go look at the offers that he got. Go look at him.
And reason why I say that, because, I'm a Texas guy, and I wish both Texas teams were much more competitive in the SWAC. But this is the problem in Texas. There's no 3-star that's going to choose PV or Texas Southern out of high school. They just not. They just not going to
start. Y'all should have more 3-star. But see, that's what I'm saying. But if Mississippi's got 23 stars, y'all got 400.
Hey, my name is Danny Wilson, and I won $500 on the lunch break with AJ Jones.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.